Thank you everybody for joining us. Tonight we're so happy to have Alfonso. Alfonso has been investing in real estate for a long time, and he used this strategy, rent to own. Alfonso, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure. Thank you for everybody that's joining. And if you're listening to this into the future, I hope it's brighter than it is today, even if it's just a little bit. So thanks for tuning in and paying attention. And yeah, really, really excited to be here with you, Fanny.
Thank you. Can you tell us about your background and your journey in real estate investing?
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on how far back you want to go. I'll speed up the real background and then to where I got. But like I said, I was born and raised in East Hamilton, Ontario, Stony Creek Mountain, from an Italian immigrant family that my grandfather immigrated in the 60s to Canada. My mom and grandmother came along with him. And because someone was able to help my grandfather buy his first home as a family member that had immigrated 10, 15 years ago, he was able to buy his first home, give a great life for his daughter, his only child, and my mom, myself and my sister, my dad. And really that was my background from Hamilton, and family was really the core of it. And we were always helping people. Because my mom was an only child, she was much more connected with a lot of our family members, right? So we were always helping, doing something, right? Traveling, going across. But then I always liked the stability. My dad was a steel worker in Hamilton, the steel company. My mom worked for the Ontario government. And, I always saw that, they're the 9 to 5, they did great jobs, go to school, get a good job, get a pension, right? And that's what I was born with. That's what I knew. I was like, okay. But then I got into, the last few years of high school sales, right? And different types of things. I worked at a grocery store, and I saw I was very close with the owner of the business, was a good friend of another family member. Again, family helping family, those types of things. And I saw that, if you put in a little bit of extra effort, you weren't just capped out on the amount of hours that you work per day. You could be earning while, sales continued to go on while you were doing something else, right? And so that's how I thought I could control my time, was getting into sales, marketing. That's what I took at Mohawk College in Hamilton, Ontario. And I started working for different companies, small independent companies selling window coverings. I worked for obviously a global company, UPS, right? Doing on-road sales for them. I got the Browns and was in the trucks with all them as well too. And so that was really what I thought. Okay, if I work more, I was capping out on my commissions, doing really well in sales, things like that. And then all of a sudden, this Rich Dad, Poor Dad book comes across, right? And I read this book, and it changed everything. Took the classes, took the courses, invested thousands and thousands of dollars on training, education, learning from all these different people. I got a mentor. His name was Ron and Emil. I still work with him today. What a great mentor I still talk to and still reach out to and work with is Pip Stellick. Follow him on Facebook. If you haven't seen him, Pip is amazing. And they showed me the way, and you can't unsee it. Right. So I know a few, like you said, right off the top, Fanny, that rent to own is one way of investing. Absolutely. There's several different ways, depending on where you are in your journey. There's a lot of information coming at you. It's like drinking from a fire hose. So that's how I got started. I learned about it. I started investing, got a mentor, got pushed along. And I actually invested in my first project with my now business partner, Adam, who's definitely another mentor and someone that I look up to in my life as well. And we've made a whole company around this. So, and that was, if we're looking at that time span from 2011, 2010, actually 2009, on vacation in Cuba is when I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that was really the kind of the turnaround, and we're, wow, that seems so close, but a long time ago now.
Who gave you the book?
Who gave me the book? It was a friend of a family member. So he was invested in real estate, and he said, "Have you ever read this book?" And he actually gave me his copy. I've bought several other copies and given that out to several other people, but that was the first one. It was on vacation. It was perfect, passive income, right? Working, and I'm like having a drink, sand and toes in the sand. I'm going, yeah, this sounds great, right?
You know what is crazy? Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. No, for me it was a CD. That's the one that changed everything for me too. But it's my brother who gave it to me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
my brother came to, he lives in Montreal, and he came here with his kids. His kids were so small. I think they were like 6 and 5, I don't remember. And he asked his daughter, what is asset? And the daughter say, asset is everything that puts money in your pocket. I say, what? How does she know that? And he asked his son, what is liability? And the son say, liability is anything that takes money from your pocket. And I say, what? How do they know that? They're too young. And I have a bachelor degree in business administration. I couldn't tell you what is asset and liability.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
yeah. And I told
Sure.
my brother, what is that? How do your kids know that? And that's when he handed me the CD, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he said, listen to this. And when I listened to that CD, I said, oh my God. I felt seriously, I felt like I was being walking in the dark and somebody just turned the light on. I'm telling you, all of you, if you didn't read that book, you have to read it. You don't even have to read it. You go to YouTube and listen to it for free on YouTube.
Yeah, you'll want, yeah, that book. I can't name another one. I'm sure there's other great, like the Bible's a good one, but I don't know many other books that have changed, many people's lives,
Yeah,
probably, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
it's a
definitely.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's what kicked it off and inspired
Yeah,
me. I saw others around me, and again, it's a lot about who you surround yourself with, who
absolutely. Yeah,
again, you guys are already doing it. It's a Thursday night at 7:20 after 7 Eastern time, and you could just be binging, right, watching Netflix, doing something
Netflix.
else, but really, yeah, doing that kind of
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah,
I
and
say binge on the good stuff, binge on the good stuff, like the Rich Dad Poor
yeah,
Dad.
and that book we teach you. We wonder why they don't teach that in school.
Yeah, yeah.
Why they don't teach us how to manage our money, and that's why people work until they're 70 and they still struggle.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. They should teach us. Anyway, they don't.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me. It reminds me of a saying, Benny, or not a saying. I guess it was a story when it was John Lennon who was part of the Beatles,
Yes,
and his teacher asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said,
I want to be
happy.
happy.
And she goes, no, or what was it? Something, and
He
I
said,
don't think you
you,
can understand the question, or I
when
don't think you understand life.
life. Yeah,
That's right. That was it. And yeah, that's really what,
yeah,
it's that the why you're doing it. It's whether it's rent to own, multifamily, vacation rental, duplexing, flips. It's endless, right? It really is endless. It's not about that. It's about what it enables and you to do for you, your life, your family, and others, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So after you reach that poor dad, I know he say try to create passive income through real estate or business or dividend or whatever. Why did you choose real estate?
Quite honestly, it was one of the things. It was right after the first time that I paid, like I think it was $18,000 for this training,
Mhm.
and it was the week after, and I was really nervous, and I was talking to the mentor, and he goes, "Do you think living somewhere? Do you think human beings living somewhere is going to go out of fashion anytime soon?" And I really, I did not have an answer. Usually, I have a quick remark, and like I'm a little bit of a, smarty pants kind of guy, and I had no response. And I said, "Yeah, you're absolutely right." He says, "Well, you're either going to be owning or renting, or owning and renting, right?" And he goes, "That's how it works, or you're homeless, right?" At that point, a few others, right? If you're a priest, I'm sure the living arrangements are managed, right? But in most cases, people, they need to live somewhere, right? And that was it for me, is how, right? Was it through renting? Was it through helping through ownership? And that was the main reason, because I'm like, it's all around you, it's everywhere, you could touch it, right? You could see it. People have, and the other part, as I continued to learn, was it continues to increase over time. And someone said to me, it goes up and down in an upward motion, right? So there's dips and there's valleys, right? But there's also high yields that you look back, that anybody that bought real estate 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 5, 10, 20, 50, right? They're I don't think they're going to regret it unless they bought it just for the spite of it. They didn't, for no reason, no plan. But if you look at real estate as a business, right, over time, it's an increasing business, right? And people need somewhere to live, and that's not going to go out of trend or out of fashion, right? It's the type of housing and where that's the market that you need to know. The same way if you were a great chef and you wanted to open up a restaurant, well, what kind of food, right? There's not just one kind of food, right? Yeah. So, and that was it. And specifically about the rent to own, why that space and what drew me to the rent to own as I started learning more. And the fire hose was more of like a calm drinking fountain from a couple different aspects. Was it helps people, right? So that was something that that was something that I've always wanted to do. I've seen it, my grandparents, my parents, the people around them, the people that have helped us over the family over time, right? Of good things, bad things that happen in our lives. And home ownership is so important for stability of a family, right? Where are you raising, your young children? Where are you having your elderly? At one point in my early life, I lived, there's 4 generations of myself, my parents, my grandparents, and my great grandparents, right? And they came over later on in their life, and they were living in a house, so that the house needed to be a little bit larger, right? So that it could accommodate them, right? And but that was the nucleus, because in Italy, everybody lived close by, or their family was within a walking distance, right? And that it was home, right? It's not a house, it's not 4 walls, not the roof, it's not the paint, it's the home, right? And that's what really spoke to me. And then, quite honestly, as an investor, when you look at the returns, right, and the type of client that you want in a property that you own, so even if you compare it side by side to a normal rental, right, and even if it's a higher end rental, great. But let's just say an average rental, most tenants, right, aren't taking care of the place. Let's just say there's 10% that are really great tenants. Even if they're tenants, they're going to take care of the property, manage it really well. There's 10, maybe 10% that are just horror stories. Those are the ones you hear about, right? That it's the worst case. But then you have about 80% that are in the middle that are not the worst, they're not the best. They just want a safe place to live.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what drew me specifically to the rent to own. And then on the investment side, that these are good people that want to own their home from an investment, and then an ROI of cash flow, forced appreciation, right? Where what you're going to sell the home for. And in our case, we're helping our clients getting prepared for that, right? So that they can buy it and get there and actually change their mindset that might change a few generations of their families of how they think about money, right? So I know that's a long question, a long answer to your question. But yeah, that's what kind of drew me to the real estate.
So how does rent to own work? Oh, are you muted?
Oh wow, yeah. No, sorry. I was saying, oh wow, yeah. That's a complicated question. So let's unpack it, because there's different perspectives for our rent to owns, right? So we have our tenant buyers, our clients. Those are the ones that are renters that are going to become homeowners, right? We have our real estate professionals, realtors, mortgage brokers, lawyers that are in the industry, right? That want to help people, help their clients, because if they do, they get paid, right, on commissions of mortgages and mortgages that they get paid on. And then our investors, right? So private partners that, like Becky, loves what she does, loves her social work, enjoys her job. People that want to stay at their work, right? That enjoy doing what they're doing, but they want to put their sleeping money to work because they only have a limited amount of time in a day, right? But maybe they have some RSP or savings over time or inheritance or different things, equity in their home because they've lived in there for a while, right? And the RSPs and mutual funds and all those kinds of things, you can make money if you're selling them. But if you're investing in them, it's not the first route or the most active way to make more money more quickly, right? That's maybe part of a larger portfolio at a different stage, right? But if you're trying to make it earn to almost match what your living income, what you need to live, like how much do you really need to live on a month-to-month basis, and you're breaking that out of, well, how much do I need to work and how much can I invest? And maybe that's how I get a little bit more time back in my life, right? To spend it with the people that you want to spend people with. So, so the rent-to-own process from the investor standpoint is either they would invest themselves personally, manage, do all that kind of stuff, or from our perspective, they're partners with us and they invest in our rent-to-own program, where in most cases, they're going to qualify for a mortgage and they're going to provide the capital on whatever the purchase price is of that rent-to-own home. And how we determine that purchase price of the rent-to-own home is based on what the client is able to qualify for, based on our parameters, based on our underwriting process that we've set up to qualify. So if they've been turned down by a normal bank, right? The blue one, the red one, the green one, the other blue one, the maroon one. Did I get them all? But if they get turned down by any of those banks, right? Maybe they go to a B lender, right? Where there's maybe higher interest rates, or there's higher deposits needed. Maybe they don't qualify for that. But now there's a rent-to-own that's pretty much equivalent with a B-type lending, with a built-in credit financial education component that's involved in the rent-to-own program that we operate, and essentially our investors own the home. Now there's another way that's just capital, that the investor is providing capital to the project, right? And no mortgage. JAAG actually qualifies for the property and buys the home. And we work in tandem, and obviously interest payments and updates and things like that on both sides, that we're managing. JAAG is managing these rent-to-own programs to be successful projects over 2, 3, 4 year periods of time. So so we can get into a little bit more of the mechanics, but it's the simple purchase of a single family home. If you're an investor of ours that's qualifying for the mortgage and providing the capital, and same way, if we're qualifying for the mortgage, our investor is providing the capital, and then we're buying this rent to own and executing from plan one of qualifying all these clients, getting them into our rent to own. They go through the home buying process. They find their home. We start the rent to own program, and then our clients eventually become proud homeowners, and that's what we do. We help people own their home. I hope that answers it, and then we can go further, deeper, in all different directions.
Let's say somebody wants to buy his house and doesn't have a 20% for down payment, and maybe has a bad credit score. How can you help that person?
Absolutely. So, and that's typically, you touched on 2 of the 3 main criteria what we're using for our qualifying, right? So we used to say income, but now we're saying gainful employment, because income can mean many different things these days. So someone that is employed, has a job, T4, self-employed, small business, okay, income, that's one pillar. And then we look at down payment, right, or deposit amount. How much do they have? Like you said, 20%, right? If they don't want CMHC, if it's 10% is a minimum for self-employed small business owners, and then 5%, for T4 if you have a job income and pretty good credit, right? So that's the third piece, is credit. So first pillar, income. Second pillar is deposit, and the third pillar is their credit score, their credit worthiness, right? So when we look at that, we're looking at a combination of all those 3, right? So you could have really good income, but maybe not so bad credit score. You have a high deposit because you're good at saving, but maybe you're self-employed and small business owner and not claiming your true income, right? Maybe only showing half of what you really make or something like that, right? And then the credit score is so-so. So basically, we look at that, and every single one of our clients or our tenant buyers, we put together a customized home ownership roadmap, right? That's what we call it. So we look at it and say, hey, your credit score is this, your deposit is that, your income is this, boop, 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 like that's my sound effect. But basically, we put it into our credit machine, and our team comes up and says, okay, based on your income, this is the purchase price. You'll need this much deposit, right? 5, 10, 20 in 2, 3, 4 years, right? And now we're going to work with you on your credit like a personal trainer would on personal training. It's like a personal trainer for your credit, that work in contact, working on the credit, making sure bills are paid on time, making sure that you have enough credit, that you're actually using it and paying it, so that the bank sees that, right? Some people are like, no, I'm ripping up the credit card. That's not necessarily the answer, right? So it's using it wisely. I have one that, when I was commuting more, that was strictly for like the 407, that it would go on there and it would maybe $100, maybe a month that it would use or something like that. But then I would pay it off automatically. It's just that you're using that, right? How much you're using it to your actual limit. If you have a $5,000 limit, are you at 4,998 every time? Or are you at like 2,000, 1,500, paying that down, making sure that you're at least paying the minimum, but obviously not going up and maximizing on all your different lines or going in overdrafts and things like that. So yeah, it is tailored, absolutely. So it's hard to give just an exact example, but we've seen, small business owners and self-employed clients that, it's a matter of claiming their income. They're actually making it, but they think, I don't want to pay the tax on it. Okay, that's one benefit, but the con or the downside to that is that you're not going to be able to qualify. So which one is more important? If it's not paying the tax, then the rent-to-own program is not going to work for them. If they see it in the long run that they're going to own their home and get into home ownership, that might work for them, right? So that's like from an income standpoint. From the down payment, it's a matter of discipline, right? If most people, if they could have saved, the 5, 10, or 20% that they needed, they would have, right? So now we're just another accountability piece that we're helping them save that each month, their initial deposit, and then their monthly that they need to accumulate over the again 2, 3, 4 years, and then the credit. That is absolutely the most important thing. As you mentioned, I think it was your nieces and your nephews that were saying, asset and liability and all that is really like uh, it's I don't want to say sad, okay, because I don't like to overdraw things or dramatize, but it's to me it's alarming that each talking to clients, people that we work with that are calling and don't have any idea about their credit score. The information is readily available, but the problem is it's so customized. It's individually. You and I, Fanny, we could be making the same amount of money. You and I could have, I don't know, the same amount of debts. But if you have a higher deposit, or if you paid a bill on time and I didn't, it impacts it so individually that it's impossible to have general information. It's like health, right? Almonds are healthy for you unless you're allergic to them. I found out the hard way, right? So it is, right? It is different. So Jerry and Andrea and Annie, thanks for joining on, and Alain and Rebecca. It is different for every single one, and that's why each project is a little bit unique in our clients. But we do tailor make every single one of our projects for our clients. So, and we're committed to that. That's our end of the deal, right? That's our end of the deal.
Okay. And so let's say you have a person qualify with you, and you find a house, or I think the person is the person who gonna look for the house, or how do you proceed?
Yes, you got it. You got it. Exactly. So basically, what happens is once we have them approved for based on that number, it's 400, 500, $700,000. They actually get to go out and search with a realtor. We're not realtors. We partner with realtors all the time, especially if they've referred the client, or maybe if our investor knows a really good realtor in the area. Of course, we love that, right? But they actually go out with a professional realtor and actually look for the home that they like. They want, I don't know, an extra bedroom, a bigger backyard, whatever, all different types of things, right? A den, an island in the kitchen, all different things, right? So they actually go out and look for the home that they like based on the budget that we set. And then along with our investors and our partners, that's when we go ahead and put in the agreement of purchase and sale, put in the offer to buy the home. They've picked it up, they've chosen it, it's based on our budget, right? So based on the exact number, we work out what the monthly payments are, what their savings is, how much deposit, what the future purchase price, the length of the term, right? We get all that agreed upon with our tenant buyer. Our investor at the same time is making sure that the qualification, or the capital that they're investing, that's coming through from their bank. It's all qualified, all lined up in order. And then we go firm on the property, right? We get all that to confirm with our investor as well, too, saying each month, this is what the cash flow is going to be. This is the account. This is that it's going to get deposited, right? Figuring out all that information, getting out all that going. And then we actually start the rent to own program. They move in. So usually 30, 60, 90 days after the closing, they move into the home, right? And then they start the rent to own program. And then typically it's 3 months, usually 3 to 4 months. We don't let more than 90 days go by until we're in contact with that client. We're following up with them. We're saying, okay, great. We put that plan together at the beginning, you're in, but now this is just a start, right? So we're continuing to work with them. We, at the same time, report to our investors, right? Say, hey, it's I don't know, month 18 and things are looking good. Client is happy. They redid the deck. They finished the basement. They, I don't know, changed the washroom around, right? Physical inspection of the property as well as the credit report background that we're working on as well, because we know what the finish line is of purchasing the home. So we're helping them get to that point. And then, successfully, if it's a 3-year program, typically at 2 years and 10 months, 11 months, our team is now getting them ready to qualify for the bank mortgage, hopefully at one of those big 5 banks, best terms, best rates, so that they can qualify. From our end, we're taking care of that with our investor, making sure that they have everything in line for the closing, the lawyers, all that kind of stuff, and then we sell the home back to the tenant buyer on a month-to-month basis. The cash flow, everything is to a client on a monthly basis, or sorry, to our investor on a monthly basis, because from our client, we're collecting the rent, the insurance, taxes, and as well as the additional deposit, right? And then the cash flow gets distributed on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, we have one question.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. What are the differences in the requirements for a regular mortgage and a rent-to-own in terms of deposit and monthly payments? That's fantastic questions. Thank you, Jerry. So the difference from a regular mortgage, like I said, typically they're going to need 5%, 10%, or 20% down. Okay. They're typically going to want to see 2 years of taxes and income, right? Of income taxes and paid taxes at a certain level, okay, to qualify for that. And then the payments, yeah, it's based on that. What's the monthly payments is based on their total debt service ratio, okay, or debt service ratio. So the difference in a rent-to-own, our minimum down payment is 3%, okay? So 3% of the purchase price, okay? And then based on our clients, we're using a multiple of their income. It could be 4, 4.2, 4.6, 4.8, 5, depending on their credit score. So the difference is that they don't qualify necessarily at the bank, or they qualify for maybe a really high interest loan, which, sometimes we've seen, it's called predatory lending. I didn't make up the name, but that's what it's called. And those types of things where it's really high interest. So ours is pretty equivalent to, not necessarily the lowest rate on the bank window, but very similar. So the payments, we're not necessarily based on a rate. It's the payment is almost equal to, a B lender type loan. So it's just slightly lower than, say, the bank or a B lender in terms of the requirements, right? But we want to make sure the clients are be able to pay those payments each month based on their savings. Now, if they need to save up, let's just use easy math, an additional $36,000 over 36 months, that's $1,000 extra a month on top of mortgage, taxes, insurance, groceries, hydro, Netflix, I don't know, right? All those different things. So we know exactly what the clients are making each month. We know what those numbers are. So we know the parameters of what they can afford. They want the $900,000 home. However, we're going to qualify and say, hey, you need to be at 4 or 5 or 6, depending on their income, so that they can get into that market. So yeah, let me know if that answers your question, Jerry, but I hope it does. But our requirements are just slightly not as stringent as a bank or say like a top end B lender.
Jerry, you can unmute yourself. I don't know what he's saying. Okay. Oh, I think he's saying good. Perfect. Yeah, feel free to ask a question if you have any question.
Absolutely. I love the Q&A and we can get into some, even examples as well too. And but yeah, definitely from an investment standpoint, the rent to own, strategy, let's call it, is something that, it gives 2 ways, right? One, on a return, definitely in the pocketbook, and then also that intangible of helping people, right? And so far we've had only one client, but one client that was a client, was renting, got into our rent to own their home with some equity, and now has invested in one of our rent to own programs. And to me, I want to keep doing that, because that's like like the water fountains that just keep giving. There was, recycling that and just giving and giving back, and it's yeah, it's really cool. So
that's perfect. And who decide how long the program will last?
Yeah, so and that's the best part. We brought some of the best experts on board with us. So that's our internal financial team. So the team is made up of a certified financial planner, credit specialist, insurance agents, basically looking from a whole life investment standpoint. They're almost getting like an investment advice along with using, their home as that main investment tool, right? So they're looking at what's realistic. We'd never want to put our clients in a position, where they're not going to be able to pay the rent. That's the last thing that we want to do. We'd rather just not start the program, right? We want to make sure that they're really ready, willing, and able, that they're committed. We're committed to them, right? Like I said, our minimum down payment is 3%. Oftentimes we're seeing 5 and 7 and 8%, down payments from our clients. But even let's just say 10, they're putting in 10% of the capital. We're getting the 90. We're putting the 90, right? With our investors, our partners, the banks, the loans that we're getting, right? And as well as the team that we're putting behind them. So that financial team is saying, listen, we're ready to put that commitment in, but we need to get that commitment back out for you. So our underwriting process, or our qualification application process, is pretty unique, where we're not in a hurry. It's not about speed. If you want to know tomorrow, go online at that point, because we want to get to know you. We're embarking on a relationship for at least 2, 3, 4 years, and it's going to take some work, where there is going to be things that are going to be tough to do, right? We don't want to avoid that. We're not there to hide that. We want to encourage that, right? So we want to make sure that we understand every single line on credit reports. We want to understand why this happened. Was it a blip? Of course, life circumstances, and we say it all the time, of bad things happen to good people all the time, right? So that's something that we can't avoid, right? There's family illnesses, family deaths, sicknesses, separations, divorces. Where is that just a blip, or is that like a pattern that is probably not going to change? And it's the third time now, and and this was that, and woe is me, and life is life. It's tough. Listen, it's tough, and it doesn't get easier, right? But that's what we're there to help and support the people that want to make that change for themselves. So so the time frame, the 2, 3, 4 years, is based on, like I said, if there's a bigger down payment that needs to be saved, it makes more sense to spread that out over 36 or 48 months, right? If they have a big down payment and it's maybe just getting another year or two of taxes because they make claiming that, maybe a 2-year or 3-year program might be a good example. We usually find 3 is a good amount of time, because by the time 1 year goes by, you're like, just, oh wow, okay, it's new life, new situation. I'm getting used to this, and now let's get back to work. Let's figure out what we need to do. So the time period is very crucial in terms of of realistic, right, of 2, 3, 4 years of what can be done in that time period as well.
Perfect. And so how about the investor? Let's say somebody wants to use an RRSP. How does it work?
Yeah, great question. I actually had a conversation with a gentleman today about that very thing. So we were, we've been, it's probably about, I don't know, I would say 24, maybe 30 times or so. We've had investors that have, worked with registered funds, whether it's their RSP, LIRAs, CSFA. I can never get it right. Tax-free savings account. I always get it mixed up. It's like CIBC or CBIC. I don't know, the CBC. But so if you have RSPs, registered funds, tax-free savings account, we definitely can. There's a few companies in Canada that work. It's I think it's Western. Oh my God, I always forget. Olympia Trust. Olympia Trust is the main one that works with that. So basically, you have to take that out of your RSP, move that into that trust. That trust now loans that to JAAG Properties or the project for the rent to own. Olympia Trust takes their cut on it, because that's what they do. That's how they make it all work, right? And then basically you're loaning that money out almost to yourself or to us through that project. You pay that back to your trust. Your trust pays that back to your RSP, right? And then the profit. Hey, guess what? Now you can do it out of your RSP. So that's a simple way of that's working. But lines of credit. Like I bought one house on a line of credit. Now, mind you, it was in Nova Scotia, and it was, I think it was $112,000. 112,000, yeah. But I bought that on a line of credit. That was the coolest thing. Like, there was like no closing. It was like transfer account. All right, that was easy, right? But when there are registered funds and LIRAs and things like that, it gets a little bit more, I guess, of a longer process, just because of the mechanics, the paperwork that needs to be involved, right? So plan for 3-4 weeks of back and forth. Okay, getting the information that you need, history, getting that set up with Olympia Trust, getting in contact, a call with a representative of Olympia Trust through your RSP as well. and transferring that. But yeah, once you get past the 3-4 weeks period, then now you have those funds in that trust, and you're paying Olympia Trust to manage that. So now it makes sense to go ahead and start putting that. So really, I would say, figure out once you're ready, take another week, think about it again. And then if you want to start the process, you still have, 2, 3, 4 weeks as you're going through that process to really think about it, ask a lot of questions, understanding what are the implications, the penalties involved, because sometimes, there's things in different RSPs, because if it's a work contribution one, if it's your own, there's all different types, right? Depending on the product that you have, if it's, the tax-free savings account, GICs, all that kind of stuff, how you remove them, how you move them around. I'm not an accountant. I don't play one on TV. I'm not even on TV. So just, make sure you talk to those professionals, your accountant, lawyers, all those things to make sure that you are doing it. And it's something that you definitely want to do. And you're sure about that. So, but absolutely, we've done it plenty of times, and it's a great way to wake up that sleeping money, I call
it. Okay, but once you move, let's say after 4 weeks, your money is with Olympia. Do you decide how to use? Let's say, do you decide I want to rent my money to JAAG, or Olympia take care of it?
No, you decide. That is now a self-directed RSP, right? So that's self-directing. You're directing it to an investment or JAAG, and rent to own a project 123 Main Street. You want a duplex, right? That you to that, right? Yeah.
And all the money you make goes back to RSP. You don't touch it, right?
Well, there's profit on it as well too, right? So there's the actual profit. So you have to, again, make sure you talk with your mortgage broker, your accountant, and your financial advisors. But there's a certain period of time that it needs to be repaid back to your RSP, right? It's in there and it needs to go. It can't just be removed and then just goodbye, right? If there was 100,000 and you remove 100, but now you made 50,000, so now you have 150. 100 needs to get back returned, right, to that RSP. Again, that's the way it's been understood and explained to me. I never had a lot of RSPs, luckily, I guess, right? That was something that I haven't experienced personally. A lot of our clients definitely do that to access it, to invest. But again, speak with like someone that's actually, a financial planner for your own specific RSP, right?
Yes.
I can talk about what happens to the money once you invest in the rent to own, right? But the mechanics of that, we can help and assist you with that, right? Of the right people to talk to. We work with some great people that can help with that too.
So let's say you use your savings, and you give it to JAAG to have a family to buy the house. When do you get your money back? How long time it takes?
Yeah, so like I said, let's just use 3 years as our common example of a 3-year term. So you invest that money, we buy that home, like I said, 30, 60, 90 days, the home closes. And at that point there, our 36 months start. From month 1, we are cash flowing. So typical, average, returns, our investors are anywhere, $4,000 to $8,000 to $1,000 a month in cash flow that they can expect from month 1. Okay, so that's for 36 months. Now, at the end of the term, at the end of the 36 months, we're selling the home. So the cash flow is revenue generator number 1. Revenue generator number 2 is the sellback, or once we sell the home back to the client. Okay, so we sell the home back at an appreciated price. Okay, we bought it for one price, we sell for higher. It's not a new concept. It's like anything that's a business. So we sell back to it at a higher price. We pay out that first mortgage, whether it's JAAG's mortgage, the investor's mortgage, that's paid out. Now the investor put in capital, so we repay the investor's initial capital return, okay, or sorry, capital investment, I should say, their initial capital investment that they gave at the beginning of the program. Now our client has saved up a deposit. They had the minimum 3% at the beginning. They saved up another 2, 3, 7%, right, to get them to what they needed. That is now credited to them, and now we're left with a profit at the end. Okay, so now that profit goes down to the investor, to JAAG Properties, once that's sold and split back, right? So that initial capital is returned, and then that profit is what the ROI, or the return on the investment, is. Okay, for that specific project. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, thank you.
And anybody else, I want to make sure, we're on the same page here. Rebecca, Allen, or you said Becky. So I had a friend Becky in grade school. So Alan and Ellen, Jerry and Andrea. If you're not clear or want to know a little bit more, that's the benefit of being on live. You guys get to ask the questions. If you're listening to this in the future, you'll have to get in touch with Fanny or get in touch with me to answer specific questions.
Yeah, Gary, ask another question.
Okay. Who looks for the home to be rented towards purchase? So once we've approved the client, they actually get to go out and look with a realtor. So we talked about that, right? So they actually get to go pick the home, the one that they like, based on their needs, their requirements, geographically, about the house. Now we have the final say, as we, the JAAG, our investors, we have the final say. If they want to buy like Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's like just a disaster, we're probably going to say, you know what, let's try again. But that's the benefit of working with really good realtors, is that our realtors won't even show them a home like that. They know that it's, it might need some cosmetic work. The carpet's old, or, the cupboards could use a painting or things like that. But we're not getting into major renovations, moving, shifting. That's another strategy. I have some of my best friends are in that, and they're bringing in machinery to really empty out the house, make it a construction site. These are how retail, right? Houses are ready to move in, need a little bit of TLC to make the house the home. But our clients are choosing that because we find if they're choosing it now, they're emotionally connected, attached to that home. They've gone through the process, not a house that I picked out and now they have to work it, because they'd be like, well, why? I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, now it's something that they can choose, and we could say, hey, the sink is on the left and the fridge is on the right. They can, oh, I hate the layout. Well, you have a choice, right? So they get involved, and let's just say the strength of the client and the strength of the project really, really goes up when the client gets to pick that home, and the success rate through the roof, right? When our clients are choosing their home.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense because the client knows what they want. If they want 2-bedroom, if they want 3-bedroom, they know what they want. They know which area, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
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 Perfect. So, how let's say somebody wants to invest in real estate. What tips can you give to somebody who just beginner? How can you start using this strategy, rent to own?
Yeah, absolutely. You got anybody that's listening to this or attending here live tonight, you're already doing it. You're immersing yourself, getting more information, listening to me. This is something it might sound crazy. You might think I'm nuts. I love this. I love talking about rent to own, helping others learn about it, talk about it, real estate investing in general, right? I could talk about for days, different projects, things like that. So immerse yourself. There's so many great resources out there. Podcasts and in different communities. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out therightclub.com. Okay, so if you guys are on, you're watching this. Okay, here we go. Where are we here? There we go. Therightclub.com. It's a great community of amazing investors, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, learning about the different strategies. Maybe one strategy is better than another for you, or you have more time but no money. Have the money but don't have the time. Different reasons why you want to invest, right? So get to learn about all those types of things, and really, at some point, you're going to have to, read, consume, get all this content, but it's only going to get you to a certain level of confidence. It's never going to be 100%. Only reading, listening, and following, and all this kind of stuff. It's great. That's a great way to get started and get real life experiences, connecting one-on-one. People saying it's tougher because of COVID and virtual, in these big groups, even in this group here. Guys, in the group, there's a way that you can chat and actually message each other right now, right? Share your contact information and schedule a 20-minute phone call or a Zoom call with each other, with myself, with Fanny, right? And talk one-on-one. It's, human beings, right? Let's talk to each other and get to learn those experiences. But at a certain point, you're going to have to take the action. You're actually going to have to say, I am investing in JAAG Properties, rent to own, XYZ investment, this investment, that investment, multi-unit, flips, vacation. Do it. You have to do it. You have to take the step to actually learn those things, right? And again, nothing is perfect. You might make a mistake or two along the way. I've been saying I'm going to prove that I make a mistake every day. And some days you can ask my fiance, maybe I make a mistake every hour. I'm not perfect. I'm going to prove to you every hour that I'm not perfect, right? And learn and go along the way, but don't make the mistake twice, right? Or try not to. And learn from those experiences and go through there and see what fits for you, right? I think ultimately the way to get started or the way to do it is yes, learn, consume, follow along, but then really take that action and put your faith into something. There's all you can listen. People go for a walk. Why might get hit by a bus? Well, of course, if you can find a problem for every solution, then that's your mindset. That let's work on that first, right? But if there is that open mindset that you want to try something different, put your faith into something after you verified it. Trust but verify. That's what I always say. And walk through the process and learn, talk to others that don't have a vested interest, referrals and testimonials and things like this, right? And that's why, when Fanny and I got, we connected over many years ago at the right club in the room, shaking hands and all those types of things, and always keeping in touch, motivating each other. She's telling me she's doing some amazing things and investing in to me, that motivates me because that's her trophy. And just because Fanny could go buy every single multi-unit in London, and I'd be happy because it's not taking away from my business. I'd be like, anytime you want to get some renters that want to maybe move out and get into a rental, call me, right? And really help each other out. It's almost the opposite of what the world and society is teaching us these days, and fending for yourselves and Instagram or one man or one woman nations or armies. It's not ourselves. We have to unite, be with people, share experiences, and and learn along the way. But take the steps. Take the steps. Talk to the right professionals. I don't do anything or buy anything that's more than like $1,000 unless I talk to 3 different people. I'm changing my roof at one of my properties. I know a pretty good roofer, but I'm still getting 2 or 3 more quotes. Get information. Someone's always going to tell you something a little bit different, and learn and see what fits for you. Because there's only one of you, right? And your family, the people that you want to be around, figure it out. And I get really emotional and passionate when I talk about this kind of stuff. So when you're getting started, get all the free content that you can. And then, and then you're going to have to pay one way or another, right? You're gonna have to learn education, or you pay when you invest, right? And if maybe you don't pay for the education, you pay more when you invest because you make some mistakes, but you got to balance the two.
Sorry,
Hi.
I was muted. Sorry, I said Jerry raised his hand. I think he has a question.
Yes, please. Just to clarify, from my basic understanding of rent to own, I was of the opinion that it could be maybe a longer channel, but an easier channel for a beginner who does not or is not able to afford regular mortgage immediately. I just want to find out how different would the payment, I mean, how different would the payment regularly be compared to a regular mortgage? So for instance, if I'm going for a house that will cost me maybe 3,000 a month for regular mortgage, how would that 3,000 look like if it is rent to own?
Yeah, great question, Jerry. And so I just want to unpack that a little bit. So you said for an investor, like buying a home as an investment, or is it a client, the difference between a payment of a mortgage and then in a rental? Was it A or B there?
Um, I'm not sure if I could clarify very well, but I am looking at it like an investor most of the times. But for me personally, I would like to look at it like what you said at first, that one of your clients bought it, I mean, entered into rent to own, and then ending up paying deposit for it, and ending up owning it, and then maybe ending up selling it, or earning from the equity or something like that. So becoming an investor at the end of the day. That is what I'm looking at. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, in that example, it was a client that was renting. They were successful in our rent-own program. They bought the home. They had a significant amount of equity, and they borrowed the equity and invested in another one of our projects in a rental. separately. So yeah, that's definitely possible. It's just one step at a time, right? They needed to go from the renter into the rent to own program, become an owner, gain that equity, right? Because the purchase they bought it, and then they just rented or invested in another program. Now, I wanted to address the question you asked about the difference of what it would look like for a tenant buyer in a rent to own, or let's just say a whole regular home owner. So first of all, we're already granted the homeowner has been able to qualify for a mortgage. Okay, so that's what it looks like that for the mortgage. In the rent to own, the payment is really dependent on how much the client needs to save. So the mortgage doesn't change. If Annie is a homeowner and she's buying a $500,000 home and her payments, let's just say, are 25 or let's say $3,000 with tax and insurance, and that $500,000 home, she's a homeowner. She needs to pay $3,000 a month. If I'm a rent to own client, the mortgage, tax, and insurance doesn't change. That price is the same if you're a homeowner or if you're in a rent to own. The difference is how much do I have saved and how much do I need to save by the end of the rent to own program. So if I need to save, let's just say $60,000 by the end of the rent to own program, and I have 25,000 today at the beginning of the rent to own program, I need to save up $35,000 over 2, 3, 4 years. So I'm still making that same payment. Let's just say $3,000 is Fannie. But if I need to make an extra $1,000 a month, almost there at $35,000, right? That's $1,000 more than Fannie because she doesn't need to save. She's already in the home. If I had more, if I had 30,000 or 40,000, maybe it's only $800 or $500 extra because I already have enough saved. So the more that the client has saved at the beginning of the program, it's less payment throughout. If it's less at the beginning of the program, it's more throughout. And the last thing I'll say about from an investor standpoint, our rent-to-own program is designed and suited for primary homeowners. They need to be living in the property. They need to be living there. Our program isn't for an investor to buy it and then rent it, okay? Because they can't own it. Now, we've had several cases, and hopefully there's going to be 2 more in the next year or so, where we've had clients that have bought the home and now put in the work, the equity to actually convert the home into a duplex. So now the basement becomes a legal unit. Now, however, we're not going to base their qualification on the rent coming in, but isn't that great that they're bringing in an extra $7,000, $8,000 a month? That's going to help them. And if we can use it as income, that's going to help them even more, right? So that's something that we promote as well, but they have to be living in their property. Once they buy it, if they want to move out the next week and rent out the upper unit and buy another home, God bless, man. Do that more, help that more, buy more, and rent that out more, right? But we need them to be living in the property in that home. So I hope that answers a couple questions, but great questions, Jerry. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
So I think like somebody who wants to own a first house, or right now who doesn't have a house, I think that would be great, as you say, if the person can purchase a house where they can rent maybe the basement, they have extra income. That will help. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. And can the person purchase like a duplex, or it has to be a single family?
No, yeah, we've had, if it's already like a duplex or just needs a little bit of work to do that, absolutely. Again, we just want to make sure that if they're living in the upper unit or the lower unit, they're going to be there, because we don't want to get into a situation where, oh, I can't pay because now my tenant didn't pay. Well, like we got this relationship, this agreement with you, not with third parties or anybody else renting. Because you can, like in most rental agreements have it stated, you can't sublet, right? Unless it's actually stipulated, right? So it's the same concept.
Perfect. So let's say somebody is new in investing, in real estate investing. According to your experience, what the few mistakes the person should avoid, like at the beginning?
Oh, I don't know. There's not just a few. There's a lot of mistakes. Some people call it, I don't know, like if you're a dog lover, squirrel, or they think of the shiny object syndrome. That's why at the beginning, drinking like a fire hose. I was going to own multi-family buildings, commercial, rent to own, do flips, right? There's so many different ways. So I would really try to, as early as possible and try to talk to different people as many as you can and really try to hone in on 1 or 2 or 3 strategies that you like, really get deep, because real estate can get really wide, but then we get really deep on on some type of strategy to a certain point where you're like, hey, I think this can work, right? And it might take some time to eliminate a few because they're all great. You just, I think what you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? So yeah, that's one mistake. Maybe too many shiny objects. Again, I said it already, but trust but verify, right? Trust but verify. Trust but verify me. Everything I'm saying, verify that. Talk to somebody else. Put my name out there. You know, look. You know, talk to different people that we've worked with. Verify, right? That everything is in fact being true. Get that looked at. Don't be shy to say, I want somebody to look at that. I want to, and don't be cheap. Bring it to your lawyer, right? And say, here, you know, look at this for $200. They're going to charge you. They're lawyers. That's what they do, right? We love lawyers. We love them. Shout out Rod. Shout out Ryan Carson. He's the best. They're awesome. But that's what they do. But have them look at it. Feel protected. They're the expert in that area. You cannot be. You can. You know, there's the one man band. I don't know. People don't even know that now because they just put it on a sound effect machine on the computer. But the one band that's doing everything, the cymbals, the harmonica, playing the guitar, that's tough to do. That guy's tired after like a song or two, right? If you have a whole band of people, a whole team of people, right? Everybody's playing their own instrument, doing their own thing. So having lawyers, mortgage brokers, realtors, financial experts, all the different people that you want to, accountants, all that, right? To make sure that you're well protected. And doing that first, taking the time to do that first. Don't be in a rush, because sometimes it takes longer to untangle all of that than to actually take the time up front and do that right. I don't know, other mistakes, not joining the right club, like today, like right now, that's a huge mistake. If you don't do that, it's the right club.com. It's those words.com. Do that. Get on jagproperties.com. Visit Fanny's website, Green Mind, right? Get in touch with us. If you don't do that, that's a huge mistake, I would think. No. But yeah, I don't know. Those are just a few.
Yeah, but networking is really, really important because your network is your net worth.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you will be the 6th one.
Yes.
And if you hang out with 5 idiots, you will be the 6th one.
Yeah, absolutely. You might be the first one if you start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So choose wisely who you spend time with.
Right. That's right. And I appreciate you, Fanny, inviting me on. And I really, truly enjoy spending time and speaking with you. Just you're such a good person. Bottom line, first and foremost, right? And just the you know, so smart and, you know, advancing your investing career, not letting anything stop you continuing to grow. And you motivate me. I appreciate you having me on and sharing me with your audience. And I look forward to talking to everybody in the future. You know, Rebecca, Becky, Elaine, Jerry, Andrew, Annie, thank you guys for hopping on as well. And if you are listening to this, yeah, in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
From the
Alfonso, so where can people reach you if they want to be in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put my info right in the website. First of all, it's jaagproperties.com. So JAAG properties.com. I'm just making sure I spell that right. Properties.com. Check us out on the rightclub.com. That's where you can go to sign up, start networking like tonight, tomorrow, right? The rightclub.com. The best way to get in touch with me is info@jaagproperties.com. That's just info. And honestly, if you really want a phone call, within minutes, our team at JAAG will put you in touch to book a call, and we can get Indeed on info@jaagproperties.com. So those are the 3 best ways to get in touch with me. I'd love to chat more, whether it's rent to own, your investing, career, your path. Really, really fortunate that Fanny invited me on here tonight, and thank you guys so much for your time. That's the most important asset. Money's great, but time, baby, time.
Freedom. Yeah, and also you should download the Right Club podcast on your phone. When you're driving somewhere, listen to Alfonso.
Well, yeah, myself and Sarah, as well as Laurel. Daniel makes a guest appearance on there every once in a while, right? So that's something that, again, it sparks I really love doing it. It's something that gives back. We do it for free. It's just talking about it. We have amazing guests. Like selfishly, I do it just for an excuse to call somebody like Fanny and say, listen, I want to just talk real estate with you, right? How did you do it? How did you learn? And it inspires me, it motivates me, it gets me thinking. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's the Right Club podcast.
Yes.
I co-host it with Sarah Larby and then Laurel and Daniel sometimes pop on.
And
And that's on the rightclub.com as well. So
yes.
it's right on there as well too. There's a link to the podcast right there.
Yeah, and every time, because everybody has different experience, every time you learn something new, every single time. And that will help you to not to make the mistake they make. So you learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes. Alfonso, thank you so much for your time. And Len, Andrea, Annie, Jerry, Becky, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy. I hope you learned something new. And if you have any question, you can reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn as Green Mind Properties. And if you want to be in contact with Alfonso, or if you have any question about rent to own, feel free to send him email at info@jaagproperties.com. Thank you so much. And if you don't have any other question, have a wonderful evening. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.